Hello, interwebs, and welcome to Close Up. I'm your co-host, Joe.
And I'm Ryan.
Today, Ryan and I break down the new slate of DC movies, aka Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Zooming into our medium shot now. First up, let's ask the big question. Did they need this reboot?
Now that you put it into context.
Before let's
kind of
go on to talk about what they're doing in the reboot, did they need this in the first place, you think? Were they in such bad...
I'm kind of swaying yes or no a little bit, because if they were doing Snyder's universe, I don't think they need the reboot. But if they were going off of 2017 Justice League, I feel like kind of, yeah, because it was in this weird spot where the original Justice League was just kind of trash. Didn't have like a real impact. So why would we want to see another Justice League of these people again? But then also, again, the Black Adam thing happened with Henry Cavill being there. He shows up. He looks freaking amazing. And people like really excited to see Henry Cavill back on the mantle for Superman. And so they were excited for maybe a new, more extended universe set in this universe, especially with Superman versus Black Adam, and maybe we'll get Ben Affleck back. Maybe we'll get, I don't know, maybe we'll get a really good superhero Superman movie. Maybe with all the other, maybe get Darkseid finally, or maybe we'll even get a Brainiac. That was a concept I thought would be cool. But I don't really know if they were going with the 2017, kind of, because it didn't feel like. And I know there's an argument for this, but it didn't feel like with all these DC EU properties that they were together in a universe, because Shazam was set during a certain day. Both the Wonder Womans were set in either the First World War or the 80s. Aquaman, I think, is set after Justice League. I haven't seen it. Yeah. Ben Affleck said he was coming back to do a Batman movie. They never did a Batman movie. So yeah, it's just been kind of one big mess. So in a way, I would say, yeah, just to have a clean slate, let's start over. But also, I hate that Henry Cavill is gone.
Okay. Did I want this reboot? I'll say no. Did they need this reboot? I'll say yes. I think I'm in the minority in saying that I liked what DC was doing these last couple years. I enjoyed that as a counterbalance to Marvel. Most of their movies were standalone projects that very loosely connected. You could have Jason Momoa be Aquaman in the theatrical Justice League by Joss Whedon, Zack Snyder's Justice League, his Aquaman 1 and 2, very vague references. You could have Margot Robbie be in the Suicide Squad movies, but also in Birds of Prey, and it didn't really like, you knew there was some correlation there, but it's just Margot Robbie playing Harley Quinn. You know, like the actors kind of carried the projects through, so it didn't matter what the movies were or what overall, like, there was no overall story, which I know a lot of people hated, but I just liked that every movie was trying to do its own thing. Once again, I didn't care that Ben Affleck was going to be in a Justice League movie, but that they're bringing back Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton for the Flash movie, while Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves are doing their movie over here. You got Jared Leto's Joker, while Joaquin Phoenix's Joker's doing his thing over here. It's, you know, objectively, it looks like a mess, but you also got some of the best superhero movies I've seen in years that way. Like, one of my favorites was, talking about James Gunn's Suicide Squad. Or The Suicide Squad. Far superior to the original in every way. And did it connect to the original? Yeah, but so loosely you wouldn't have even needed to see the original. It didn't matter. You could just go to these movies and like them for what they were. Like, and the more you knew about this universe, the better, obviously. So, yeah, did I want it? No, not really. I liked these standalone things they were doing. But did they need it? Yes, because I think DC as a brand has been damaged for a very, very long time in the mass public eye. most people I talk to still, you bring up DC, and they have this hesitation like, oh, DC, Marvel's crappy younger brother who just can't seem to get ahead. And I'm like, have you watched a DC movie since Batman v Superman? No. Well, there you go. You haven't even seen the good ones. You gave up when the universe was early. And to be fair, I like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. We just did a whole podcast on it a couple weeks ago, but it got off to a rocky start in the public eye, let's be honest, and the brand image never really recovered with the universe they were going for. I liked it. A lot of people liked it. But, to all the Snyderverse lovers out there, that the brand was so tainted. Like, we're a small minority, let's face it. We need a reset. They needed to hit the reset button, clear house, and just move forward. So,
yeah.
So I guess
it is a strange. It is such a strange mess because, again, we've talked about this in the past, but I don't honestly believe there was ever a clear path for the DC movies, and they always, no matter whenever they got backlash, whenever they made a movie, they always tried to fix it in the sequel to that movie. It's very reactive, which is never great. Happened with the Star Wars sequels, and it happened here with the DC movies. Like what happened in Man of Steel when people complaining about how so many people died in Metropolis.
They make a whole sequel about the consequences of that.
Yeah. But also what I mean by that is in Batman v Superman, they make it a point twice to say this area in this town, in this part of the town has been abandoned. No civilians are going to get hurt here. And then in Justice League 2017, it was more lighthearted because people thought Batman v Superman was way too dark. So that's the type of reactive filmmaking that I think will not bring people back to this universe. And it did need a reboot to stop that type of filmmaking.
Yeah. Now, it does sadden me that a lot of the actors are going to be replaced. But it's kind of up in the air right now. We know Henry Cavill's out.
Mm-hmm.
We know some people like Viola Davis' Amanda Waller are still in. We know some other movies are wrapping up. We know Aquaman 2's coming out. Shazam 2.
It's unclear with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Shazam 2's coming out. Aquaman 2's coming out. So there are a couple of the Flash movie with Ezra Miller still coming out. So we know there are a couple of holdouts still coming out, but that they don't connect to the new slate. So maybe they'll still be the same actors in the reboot. Maybe they won't, which we'll probably cover a little bit specifically when we get to the first Superman movie, because we have some thoughts on Henry Cavill's exit, obviously. Just we'll have to compare a little bit about our expectations about what we wanted to see versus what we're getting. But yeah, there's a lot we don't know right now. But you know what, let's get into our close-up, and if you don't know what we're talking about at all here, sorry.
Where have you been? Where have you been? That'd be my reaction to it.
Yeah, so just for a little bit of context here, filmmaker James Gunn and producer Peter Safran have become co-CEOs of the newly formed DC Studios, which is now separate from Warner Brothers. Not, Warner Brothers is still the parent company, and they still report to Warner Bros. Board. But like Marvel Studios is with Disney, they kind of do their own thing now. And I think that was a huge problem facing DC before, was that Warner never really knew what to do with them. It was basically an entire universe that they could have formed, like Marvel, where you had entire teams of executives and filmmakers just focused on this one universe, but they were still treating it like just random movies that Warner Brothers produces. They didn't see enough potential in it to split it off into its own division. And I think that's why we got so many course-correcting problems, was because there were too many cooks in the kitchen. They didn't really want to focus up on anything. There was no clear direction. You kept getting all these heads of Warner Bros. Getting switched around every couple of years. And then there was this big buyout with Discovery, and they cleaned house, which was very controversial. They did a mass level of layoffs and cancellations of projects, most infamously the Batgirl movie. Uh, so yeah, this new DCU is going to be coming in the midst of what do they call it? Just scorched earth policy here.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So some people are hopeful for this new universe, other people are more hesitant just because it's so new and, fans obviously hate new stuff. They tend to crave what they already know, which is funny to me because people bitched for 10 years about the Snyderverse, and now that it's gone, people only seem to want it back. I don't get it. But
it's weird, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been, I don't think it's because maybe the Snyder fans, they only watch like the extended cuts exclusively.
The good ones.
And when you watch the the good ones, then you're like, yeah, this is a great universe. But no one in their right mind would sit in a movie theater for 4.5 hours unless they were like, had to be intermissions during the movie.
Yes.
Like, I'm wondering if the tragedy didn't happen with his daughter, what 2017 Justice League would look like if he stayed on. Because I don't think the 4-hour film would have happened. Maybe it would have been like a part 1, part 2, like with Infinity War and Endgame. But, or before Infinity War and Endgame, now that I think about it. I'm just wondering what that movie would look like.
I think it would be a worse version than the one we got. Not as bad as the 2017 version, but also... It's the same thing with Batman v Superman. The original script of that movie would have produced a 4-hour movie as well, which they had to trim down into a 2-hour movie for the theatrical cut and a 2.5-hour movie. No, it was 3.5-hour movie, I think, for the extended edition.
Yeah, for the ultimate, yeah.
Either way, there was a lot they had to cut out of that, and there would have been a lot they had to cut out of Justice League too. But the problem with Zack Snyder is that he's not really a guy who's known for moderation. I feel like he needs those extended epic runtimes, and he just doesn't have a fantastic feel for what needs to be cut. So the fact that he had to trim things out at all was a big detriment. And the fact that he had to trim out half his movie made them set up for failure from the start.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. But so what is this new universe going to be like? So James Gunn talked about his vision for the new DC universe, and he says, "We're coming into a world where superheroes exist and have existed for some time in one form or another, and that's the universe. And so we are telling a big, huge central story, except for, I think, we're a lot more planned out than Marvel from the beginning, because we've gotten a group of writers together to work that story out completely." And he also said...
Little shot.
You know what? He worked for Marvel. He's seen the behind the scenes. So he knows...
That's true.
And he was around in Marvel and, Guardians of the Galaxy came out in Phase 2, 6 years after Iron Man came out. So he was around in Marvel in those early days, and he seems to be implying they weren't as well planned out as maybe they looked to be.
They might have looked, yeah.
They were making some stuff up on the fly back then. So he seems to have learned from, I don't want to say those mistakes, because obviously they did very well.
Those lessons, as we'll say.
Marvel did very well.
Those life lessons.
Yeah, they didn't make any mistakes, because they clearly did really well in those early days, but it wasn't that planned out. James Gunn is saying that he wants this universe, or at least this first chapter, to be intricately planned out, the overarching story. So he also says, "We're also creating a universe that is like Star Wars, where there are different times, different places, different things, and like Game of Thrones, where characters are a little bit more morally complex." So that's a pretty big thing there compared to Game of Thrones. That sets high expectations, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. For me, it does.
Yeah.
Someone who's seen Game of Thrones multiple times.
You don't invoke
one of the greatest TV shows of all time without putting your money where your mouth is.
But I also like his commitment here to different, to just the variety. I like how he says different times, different places, different things. How they're going to be set during different time periods, different eras. Like Marvel, they do that, but very limited. you'll have a Captain Marvel or a Captain America here and there, something set in the 90s, something set in the 40s, but most of it's modern day. So I kind of like the idea of fleshing out the entire DC universe. I know it's not on the slate, but one movie I'd love to see is a JSA movie or TV series. You know, get the heroes back to their roots, the original guys who fought in World War II.
Oh, yeah.
Golden Age kind of movie. That would be fantastic. They do have some prequel stuff in their slate already, which we'll get to. But yeah, just the DC universe is one that spans, or maybe like another Jonah Hex movie from the 1800s, or go back to like the Greek gods, or like the DC universe is such a... Oh, they even have like future ones too, like I think his name is Comanche, the last boy, and like the world, like most humans are dead, and Comanche's the last human, thousands of years in the future, like a little bit later, the Legion of Superheroes, maybe. Like DC has such a variety of time periods to work from, all fully fleshed out in their own way. So you could do a whole lot with that, not just modern DC with the Justice League and whatever villains are hanging around, the Legion of Doom, maybe, I don't know. Like that core era of DC, there's so much to the world. And it's also a huge world too. Like you have heroes from everywhere, really. I mean, mostly in the States, but they're starting, the comic books eventually branched out to global
different countries and all that.
Yeah. So one interesting thing here. Yeah, sorry, you go.
I don't know if you have it here, written down in your notes, which you did a lot of research for this, so everyone give a clap for Joe for that. But he made a point in saying in his announcement video where he said some movies, I don't know if any of the movies he said are going to be this, but some movies that we have are going to be animated or TV shows, and we're going to try our best to have those actors play those animated characters and also the live action version, which I think is really smart because let's face it, you can do anything in animation. Fucking anything you want to. All you need is budget and time. That's literally all you need. Your imagination can go wild. And the fact that it can be...
Yeah, I do like that idea in principle, but I have heard some valid criticism of that, which says that a lot of actors who are really good in front of the screen aren't necessarily good voice actors. So, good voice actors are more likely to be good actors in real life too, I think. But just because you're good on camera doesn't mean you're a good voice actor.
Yeah.
So that strategy could be awesome for synergy, or it could be a big miss depending on who you cast. But it all comes down to...
It's true, but you just have the right director for it when you're in the booth.
Well, yeah, a good...
If I'm being honest.
A good vocal coach, or what do you call them? What's their job? Voice director, or... I don't know what they're...
No, you're right. Vocal coach, voice director.
Yeah, they can work wonders.
Director, yeah.
Good direction can work wonders. Yeah. So that could be very interesting. Another, from a business point, Peter Safran said, we have the ability to sell outside of HBO Max, if that makes sense. So we'll figure out if there are certain shows coming up that would be better served elsewhere, or if there's not real estate on HBO Max for us. But we like the idea of having shows on Amazon, Hulu, and Netflix. It just broadens the DC audience. Now, once again, this is one of those hit or miss things, because I did see that some fans took this statement pretty cynically, because Warner Bros. Is broke. So they're like, well, yeah, HBO Max can't afford to make all their own shows anymore, and obviously, otherwise they wouldn't be canning so much. So yeah, this is DC saying, we want your broad audience, and they're trying to spin it positively, but really they're just too broke to make their own stuff, so they're licensing it out to whoever will make it for them.
It's funny when he says there's not enough real estate, because in my mind, when I read that, where it's like, how much storage is on a streaming platform? In terms of just data, that's the way my brain worked, but I guess he's talking about in terms of money.
On HBO Max, not as much nowadays. Real estate's gone up for sure. They don't just make anything anymore. God. But for the positive side, I will say it's still not the most ideal scenario, I think, to split up your brand. Some fans also pointed out that like Disney Plus does a really good job of being the one-stop shop for all things Marvel and Star Wars. But Warner Bros. Is going to be splitting the DC universe to everywhere, really. So you won't be able to find...
That's going to be confusing.
So that's going to be a problem if you want to watch everything. But I understand from a business perspective that it probably would widen their reach. Because somebody who likes a side of this DC universe, which they're promising is going to be broad in terms of characters, places, things like we said, might not like another side. So if all these streaming services that they're licensing off to or looking to license off to can find their niche, then DC fans who want to watch everything can find everything. But fans who might not otherwise have found DC in the first place might have a better chance to that way. So I think it's a good idea because it widens their reach, but it's bad for the super fans who want to see everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's strange because when you just look at it from just as a consumer standpoint, all the Disney Plus shows, doesn't matter what the quality is, at least you can just see them all at one place. Like the Marvel stuff, the Star Wars stuff, it's just easy that way. And now, especially, you got to think of like older audiences too, where it's like, okay, the Superman movies in HBO, but the Batman show, these are just examples. Yeah. Batman shows on Amazon, but they're all set in the same thing. So it's a little bit of confusing, but it does take just like a quick Google search, which is an extra step.
But this is 2023. Audiences shouldn't have to be expected to do any work. Everything is just convenient and given to us.
Give it to us.
Go on to the Disney Plus tab and just find all the Marvel movies in chronological order or whatever other orders they want to throw out. Timeline order.
Go and try and find Andor, or wait, you can. It's on the third page, even though it's the most popular Star Wars show that come out in the last 2 years.
I'm shocked how popular that show became without so little marketing. They really did not care to market it. Which is...
Oh my God.
Hopefully James Gunn...
Did they not watch it? Did the people who's doing the marketing not watch the show?
No, you know what? I don't think Disney did watch the show, which is why it's so good. They didn't care enough to meddle with it. It's the same reason Mandalorian Season 1 was so good, and then Season 2 took a bit of a downturn because they started meddling more. Because they didn't expect it to be popular. But you know what? This is why I'm...
It's like they're in the office. They're in the office, and Kathleen Kennedy's like, "What's this Andor show?" Nothing. Don't worry about it. It's nothing. Don't worry about it.
Isn't that the guy from that Rogue One? Don't worry about it, Kathleen. You just watch the money roll in, okay?
No, he's dead. He's dead. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's one of those prequel things.
Don't worry about it. Oh, okay. No.
Trust us.
No.
Go.
It's like, you remember the anime show we did with the Star Wars? It's like one of those one-off episodes. Oh. Cut to 10 months later. Sons of bitches. They lied to me.
Yeah. So, but DC, they're planning out everything more in advance now. So you're not going to get any situations like that where the one hand doesn't know
Fingers
what the
crossed.
other's doing. So they're, I forget where the train of thought came from, but yeah, they're planning it all in advance. So it ought to be at least a little bit connected. And so yeah, the synergy will be hopefully solid. Not like Marvel nowadays where the timeline is completely out of whack. You don't know.
Yeah, especially with the shows, because you don't know where, in terms of after Endgame, they take place. Like which show comes first or which show comes last. You kind of just, in my mind, just think they all come right after another, which doesn't make that much sense because, I don't know. It's kind of tough.
Sense. So I do trust in them to be...
And if you say they happen all at the same time, you're like, no, that's too many events happening for it all to happen at the same time.
Yeah. So one thing I do like about... let's talk about Peter Safran and James Gunn just a little bit as the heads of the new DC studios. I think they're a great partnership because Peter Safran is known as a more business-minded guy. He knows what it'll take to make something successful. And James Gunn is the creative personality, the director. He's done the superhero thing very successfully. His superhero movies are some of my favorite ones that the entire genre has to offer. So I think these two together will make a great cinematic universe if they can keep working together. You got the business-minded guy, you got the creative guy with a proven track record, and these two working together could make something magic.
I'm just looking at Peter Safran's like filmography, and most of it is a lot of horror stuff and those mid 2000s to 2010 parody movies, which if you think about as a business is very profitable, because look how many movies those are, like all the Conjuring and Annabelle movies and the parody movies. So that's exciting.
Which if you look at the DC universe they're trying to build based on this slate, which we will get to, don't worry, that they are banking on these lower tier characters. It's not all Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. It's a lot of characters nobody's ever heard of before, which let's say like Deadpool is a perfect example here of a character that you made that movie on a pretty small budget and then it grossed crazy amounts when it was actually good. Because that's what people want. They want interesting movies that are just good. And if you can make these great movies out of small characters, people will come. Another perfect example is Guardians of the Galaxy. I was a comic book nerd, and I still am. And in 2014, I had zero idea who Guardians of the Galaxy were. And this is a guy who was a nerd. Keep in mind, not even general audiences. We're not even going that far. So you didn't just have to convince general audiences. You had to convince guys like me. That was weird for back then and even today. And they somehow made it fantastic. I can't tell you if it was a good adaptation of Guardians, because I still don't know much about Guardians, but I know it was a great movie that I loved and made me invested in them. And James Gunn did the same thing with the Suicide Squad just the other year. He made me love freaking Polka Dot Man, King Shark, Bloodsport, Ratcatcher 2. I mean, the guy is so I think this is a great marriage. You know, James Gunn has proven that he can take these low tier comic book characters nobody cares about and turn them into something that household names. And Peter Safran's, like you were just saying, pretty much made a career of making these lower budget things into something successful. He takes ideas, gives it a bit of a shot, and turns huge profits. So once again, they're a great match that way. Because James Gunn's got the passion for the characters that nobody cares about, and Peter Safran's got a passion for making a lot of money from small projects. So,
yeah, it's a good pair, 100%.
And Peter Safran did say that one of our strategies is to take our diamond characters, which is Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and we use them to prop up other characters that people don't know. Oh, sorry, Gunn said that. But Safran added, we use them to prop up the other characters people don't know to build those lesser-known properties into the diamond properties of tomorrow.
Funny, for a diamond character, they didn't say Boost of Gold. That was a wasted opportunity.
Star, diamond.
What's the difference?
Shining.
Iconic, you know.
Yeah. He's got that shining wink and smile. All right.
Okay.
So let's get into this slate now. A lot of this information about these I just lifted from Screen Rant's article about it, so a lot of these are just kind of quotes from that website, but we'll add our own breakdown.
Yeah.
So
I have the order here if you want me to go through that.
I just have it all broken down.
Okay.
Okay, so the first movie in the list is Superman Legacy. And Screen Rant says, Gunn is currently writing the screenplay, and Safran is hopeful the filmmaker will also direct the DC movie. Set to come out on July 11th, 2025, Superman Legacy will not be an origin story, but will focus on Clark's struggle to balance his superhero life with his human one. The story will also explore Superman being a beacon of kindness in a world that believes kindness is old-fashioned. All right. So
sorry, I laughed because it was like Safran hopes he would also film the movie as well. Just makes me think like there's so many just other stuff that I don't that needs to work, and James Gunn needs to make this one work, or else we're fucked. So I just need him to direct this one. I feel like he would direct it.
The funny thing is, I don't want to see Gunn direct this one, actually.
No,
because to me, Gunn, he's talked about it in the past, I think, where he says he was never really interested in doing characters like Superman. He wanted to do characters like Polka Dot Man, because he's like, who's going to tell Polka Dot Man's stories? Somebody out there will tell Superman's story well. He just, because he's the really popular characters have a lot of filmmakers just as passionate, but he likes to put his attention on the people nobody cares about, because he's got the passion for them, but nobody else does. So I totally understand that. And I'm like, you know what? Gunn, you focus on the stuff you're passionate about and nobody else really understands yet, and give Superman to somebody who can do a great job with it. There's going to be a lot of those people. So you don't need Gunn to do this one, I think. I think you can get away with not doing his writing. Sure. Give me his writing. Give me a James Gunn script for a Superman movie any day. But I don't need him to direct it.
Be interesting to see who they get, though. Because I can't really think of any. Oh, it'd be really funny if it was the Russo brothers. That would be really funny. I don't know why.
All right, another Superman movie with a gray color palette.
Oh, no.
All right.
Oh, man. It was bright in Infinity War, okay? Even though Captain America's costume was very decolorized. Now I will admit it.
I don't know. The Russos I liked more a while ago, but they're starting to hurt me. I haven't cared for their last few.
They were great in Community.
Oh yeah, Community's fantastic.
I have found that. I did find that D&D episode, by the way, and I watched it. It was great.
Fantastic. It's a classic.
Why did they ever take it off? I don't know. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that.
All right, before we get into the movie, I just want to throw in another quote from James Gunn here. So many quotes today. Like I said, I did some research. So he did say, just for the people who are already complaining, he says, it's important to say that Henry Cavill was not fired. Henry was just not hired to be Superman in Superman Legacy. There was never a deal there for another movie. And for recently, he said about, he was talking about how he was recently talking to Zack Snyder, and said Snyder contacted me to express his support about my choices. He's a great guy. Again, he seems really happy with the massive world building he's doing now. So that's Gunn being like, trying to address the Snyder fans and be like, look, we didn't.
What's Snyder doing now?
Rebel Moon. Which is basically his Star Wars movie that's not actually a Star Wars movie. Which, you know what? I have high hopes for it, because this is how Star Wars was created in the first place. George Lucas wanted to make a Flash Gordon movie, couldn't get the rights, so he made his own thing, Star Wars. Zack Snyder wanted to make a Star Wars movie, couldn't get the rights, so he makes Rebel Moon. So it's
Rebel Moon has Ray Fisher and Charlie Hunnam in it. I'm in. And Iman Hansu. Oh my god, this is gonna be great. Sorry, I got really excited when I just saw the cast.
It's a good cast. It's like Zack Snyder's take on Star Wars. So
that's brilliant.
It'll be epic at the very least.
It's supposed to come out this year.
Really?
Hopefully it comes out this year.
I realize it was
hopefully.
That soon.
This gives me, with the Henry Cavill thing, this gives me a small bit of hope that he might come back later on. Yeah. Because it is like a younger Superman, but it's not an origin story. So maybe he's actually does make sense. Well, it's a reset. I don't know. It just gives me a little bit of hope.
The reason I'm not as upset about Henry Cavill as a lot of people now is because, funny enough, it's because of Black Adam. In that we talked about how the Zack Snyder movies were basically just a Superman trilogy. Man of Steel was his introduction to the world, his rocky introduction to the world. Still just a Man of Steel, doesn't really know what he is yet. Batman v Superman, he's going by Superman now. He's trying to be a hero, but he still doesn't really know what he's doing yet. He has a lot of world resistance now. He knows what he wants to do, but people still don't trust him. Justice League is when he becomes that inspiration, and people at large finally realize that he's a hero worth rooting for. He finally starts getting good at his job. And then his cameo in Black Adam is he's got the bright suit, the curl, and the John Williams Superman theme. He's come full circle from Man of Steel to now. So that extra cameo there to me, like that was the end of Henry Cavill's story to me. I think he got his great trilogy.
So good in that cameo though.
he got his Superman trilogy where he became the guy we all know and love, and then his epilogue to show him in his peak form. So to me, that's like, I got closure with Henry Cavill there. And that's enough for me. So I'm okay to see somebody new in the cape and spandex.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I feel like, who do you think would be a good younger Superman?
I'm going to be a killjoy and say an unknown. Because, like,
all right, fair enough.
Christopher Reeve, nobody really knew who he was before Superman. Henry Cavill.
That's true.
Henry Cavill had been in a few things. Brandon Routh had been in a few things. Like, nobody really knew these guys, though. They were all pretty well unknown.
I don't know why my mind straight went to, just because of popularity right now, went to Austin Butler. I don't know why my mind went to that, but a part of me would be like, no, I don't think so. He would have to get supremely jacked in order for that to happen.
I can see it. Funny enough, Batman's the opposite. I think everyone who's played Batman has been in
anyone can play Batman.
Michael Keaton, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, who else? Mm-hmm. Like, they've pretty much all been names. Oh, Val Kilmer, George Clooney. Like, everyone who's played Batman has been famous already. Everyone who's played Superman, not so much. They become stars because of Superman.
That's true. Yeah, because, like, you could argue Henry Cavill, but that's only because that's more so of European audiences, not American audiences, because he was in Tutors and a couple other things.
Okay. Yeah. Like, he was a working actor.
Working actor, yeah. He was almost up for James Bond before Daniel Craig, but then they said he was too young for the role, and he actually almost quit acting because of it.
Mm. Well, he got to do his spy thing.
I think he said he was broke.
Oh.
Yeah.
He got to do his spy thing twice. He did The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I think is a very underrated movie. I loved it when it first came out. I heard that's a
very good movie.
And nobody really saw it, so he did The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and he did Mission Impossible Fallout, which he was also great in. His little arm lock and load is still an internet meme.
It's just action gold. And they did, Tom Cruise did like an interview where I guess it was something weird with the camera where when he does that, the pocket on his shirt appears and it also looks like the stubble from his face because he doesn't have a full beard, but it looks like he just grows a full beard. It's just how it looks in camera. But that's just action gold when he like reloads his biceps.
Yeah.
It's great.
Sweet. But let's talk about Superman Legacy
so
a little bit. This movie excites me. I've heard James Gunn said he was going to take some inspiration from All-Star Superman, which is one of the best Superman stories ever written, which obviously they're not adapting All-Star Superman because that's... Okay, well, if you don't know what All-Star Superman is, the plot of that book is that Superman absorbs a dangerous amount of solar radiation and he's basically on a ticking clock. He's going to die soon. So Superman just goes all around the world doing everything he possibly can to make the world a better place in the last days of his life, knowing he's going to die soon. And that's the plot of All-Star Superman. So I know they're not adapting it for the first Superman movie of a new universe. But they're taking inspiration from it.
We're just going to die by the end of it.
Yeah. Like they're not adapting All-Star Superman, but I understand they're taking, like, that is one of the best versions of Superman because it's Superman with nothing left to lose. And he's just does all the best things he can think of, really. So, this is Superman at his most altruistic, who's trying his hardest. And I think that's a good version of the character to base
It'll be very interested to see which Superman villain they use, because I think it'd be too soon for Zod because Man of Steel happened.
Yeah.
I think it would be too early on for Darkseid to show up and then too early on for Brainiac to show up. I feel like what was that one movie where it was a bunch of random people and they like drove Superman to almost insanity, where Superman made them think that he was killing them off one by one, and then he lobotomized like the main bad guy, but he actually didn't kill him. It's like very good animated movie. I can't remember the name of it because I haven't seen
Superman versus the Elite.
That's what I mean. Maybe the Elite. I feel like that'd be a pretty good live action thing.
Manchester Black. Yeah. So
that's him. Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know the plot, the rough plot of it, basically it's this team of anti-heroes come to town, and they're in town to kill villains and do superheroing. More how we see modern superheroes in movies, and then Superman comes in being like, no, that's not how we do things around here. The anti-hero thing doesn't really work for me, so it puts him into the direct crosshairs of the Elite. So that's basically what it's about. It's Superman's idealism versus modern anti-heroism, which I can easily see being a good plot line for something like this. I do personally want to see Brainiac. You know what would be an awesome movie for later on is if he went to Warworld and fought Mongol. That one I want to see that.
Yeah.
Because
I just think it'd be too early.
Or Brainiac.
For Brainiac.
I know, but Brainiac is like the biggest Superman villain that still hasn't been adapted.
I know, but there's a superhero movie coming up in this DC slate where I think it would work if both of them were in it.
Ooh, I got one. I got one that would probably be okay for this. What about someone like Metallo?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so Metallo, not 100% on his origin story, but basically he's kind of like a General Grievous sort of thing, where he was a guy, and then all his body basically just, like his brain got put into a machine pretty well, I think. And I think there's different versions of this. Sometimes his whole body's a machine, other times he's just a man with machine parts, but either way, he's got like a kryptonite heart.
Okay. Oh, that guy.
And
Yeah.
You can like open the flap on his chest to. Yeah, that's Metallo. Which I think that would be cool because it's a relatively grounded villain.
Okay.
It's not the most over the top Superman villain. What I will tell you I don't want to see in this movie is Mr. Mxyzptlk. I will go on record saying I do not like Mr. Mxyzptlk. Every time he shows up, it becomes stupidly confusing. Any Superman fans out there, you know what I mean. You do not want to see that. Trust me. I mean, you kind of do, because it would be bonkers, but not for the first movie. Hell no. All right, so
Mr. Mxyzptlk?
Mxyzptlk.
Wait a second. Oh, mate, I'm getting my Superman actors confused here, because for some of the animated stuff, it's Tim Daly. And then from some of the other animated stuff, it's George Newborn. And it says here, George Newborn did Justice League TV show.
That's interesting.
Huh. I thought it was Tim Daly. They sound so similar. That's just good casting all around, I guess.
Yeah, Mr. Mxyzptlk. I think it's MXYZP
Mr.
PT.
Spill a lick.
Well, I'll tell you the fun thing about Mr. Mxyzptlk is that the only way
nothing came up.
The only way to defeat him is that Superman has to trick him into saying his name out loud backwards. Or just spelling it backwards. He needs to trick
this guy.
That guy, the fifth dimensional imp with magical powers who can warp reality.
Mad Hatter looking dude. I'd be interested in seeing another Superman movie for sure.
But you know why you can't bring in Mr. Mxyzptlk for you hardcore Batman fans who will just want to see Batman be edgy and grim? Is because if you bring in Mr. Mxyzptlk, that's a direct road to Batmite. Just saying.
Oh yeah.
That's the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm excited for this one.
Yeah. So balance superhero life with a human one. Beacon. What I like is that it says Superman and being a beacon of kindness in a world that believes kindness is old-fashioned. That's the story I wanted to see for modern Superman adaptation for quite a long time now. that's the story that I would write if I was doing a Superman movie. It's the story I have thought about, it, a variation on it, but like very similar idea. So, you know, biggest Superman fan I know, and I approve of this pitch. I'm hyped.
Did you just say you're the biggest Superman fan that you know?
Yes.
Did you just say that?
Yes, I did.
That takes some confidence.
I do not know anybody bigger. All right. So next up is
funny.
The Authority. So Screen Rant says, Gunn is currently outlining the film, which will be based on Wildstorm characters. According to DC Studios, The Authority explores anti-heroes who have good intentions while having to go to extremes due to how broken the world is. Which, very interesting to me. That movie you mentioned, Superman versus the Elite, I'm pretty sure the original comic book was called Superman versus the Authority. And if that's the second movie on the outline, that would be very interesting. And what Peter Safran and James Gunn said about using the big three, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, to introduce smaller characters, it would be very interesting if it was Superman versus the Authority in Superman Legacy, but then the Authority spin off into their own movie, which is the second one up. And that's what leads me to believe it might be Superman versus the Authority in Superman Legacy. So just seeing
that would be interesting.
So just seeing that there, I'm like, well, that would make some sense.
And the next big one on our list is
The Brave and the Bold. So Screen Rant says this will be a Batman and Robin story with a new star set to play the Dark Knight. Robert Pattinson and Ben Affleck will therefore not be starring in this film. Based on Grant Morrison's Batman run, the story sees Bruce discovering that Damian Wayne is his son. Taught to be an assassin, Bruce must now raise Damian under his wing. The Brave and the Bold will also feature other members of the Bat family. It was not revealed if they have decided which actors will play them, or if DC Studios will even use stars that have been used previously. I'm gonna
now,
let
this
you
one's
go
interesting
first, because you have thoughts on the Bat family.
Yeah.
I know you're...
Well, it's funny because when I was watching this, James Gunn said, well, introduce my favorite Robin, Damian Wayne. I was like, oh man, he's like the worst. Not in terms of just like characters as a whole, but I just don't like him as Robin. He's just a little bit too violent. But it's interesting. I like the way that they're going with this because we have seen this in the animation universe where Damian Wayne is introduced. And more recently, this is what happened in the comics. So just to see this in live action is going to be really interesting.
I think what worries me a little bit is, like you were saying, Damian Wayne being annoying and, you know, even though he got good later.
He's going to be a cocky little prick.
They specifically said, based on Grant Morrison's Batman run, which is the story where he's a cocky little prick when he first got introduced. They're basing it on that early Damian Wayne, which is the least liked iteration of the character. So that's a little bit worrisome right off the hop. But
I hope we see Batgirl.
They said other members of the Bat family. I'm rooting for Nightwing. Hell, maybe even Red Hood.
Definitely will be Nightwing.
Who knows?
Huh. I feel like Red Hood would be a random introduction, but not really. It doesn't matter. I'd love to see him.
Look, if you're going based on comics accuracy here, if you're getting to Damian Wayne, you've already got Batgirl, Nightwing, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake, all through their
It'd be
stories
funny.
already.
It'd be fun if they were like other members of the Bat family and they only meant Alfred.
And Alfred.
Be like, well, that doesn't count. Like, that doesn't count.
Yes.
Alfred and Oracle. That's the only two you're getting.
You know, she probably would be Oracle at this point, if only just to separate.
Yeah. I'd love to see Nightwing, though. That'd be great.
Yeah. And I mean, I know he's Nightwing.
And then we get Nightwing. And then we get Nightwing flashbacks. Oh my god. Wait, this movie could be great. I'm thinking about it.
I'd be hyped to see Tim Drake. He's my favorite Robin. And I know. And I also think it would be kind of funny if he's like slightly bitter about being because he was the current Robin when Damian Wayne came in. So he's like, being
Tim
replaced
Drake
by the boss's son now.
Tim Drake is one of the darkest Elsewood stories in Batman Beyond Return of the Joker.
Yeah,
where he's spoiler alert. where he's brainwashed by the Joker and almost is influenced to kill Batman. That's a great movie all around just because of those scenes.
Yeah. But once again, going back to the Superman one, this is a version of Batman that I would probably write myself as a Batman fan. I'm sick of Batman being presented as the brooding loner, sometimes good detective, sometimes, but like he's, or just having like Lucius Fox or Alfred be his only allies, or Commissioner Gordon. Like, I want to see the Bat family in live action, because if you're gonna do, what is this, the 4th reboot of Batman in the last 20 years? If you're gonna do that, you need to bring in the elements of Batman we've never seen on camera before. Give us the full Bat family. Give us Batman a little older, wiser, as the patriarch of his family, later in his career, not the young, brooding vigilante who just came to Gotham and is too busy making enemies and gets stuck in his own head with his hubris and anger. Like, I love Matt Reeves' take on it, but it's not the first time I've seen that story done. It's like, you know, I like we always see Batman early in his career, and maybe like the latest we've seen him is when he's just starting to get sidekicks, like in the Schumacher movies. But we don't, like, we haven't seen a later Batman at any point that's like done all this stuff. And has
it is important to note also. Sorry, keep going.
No,
I didn't know you were still going.
There you go. No, I made my point.
I was just saying it's important to note that the Batman Matt Reeves version and the Joker sequel, they're both happening, but they're technically Elseworld. Elseworld. I still didn't even say it right. Elseworld.
Yes.
There we go, Ryan. So that's good to know, and that's not coming out till 2025, which I think is okay. You know, take your time. Take your time with it. Doesn't have to be rushed. There was one guy's take I saw on TikTok, and he was getting flamed in the comments. He was like, I want it now. Produce the Batman movie now, or else I'm going to lose interest. And it's like, he was getting absolutely flamed in the comments. Like, have you never heard of like pre-production, post-production? Like,
obviously,
you never heard of this stuff, man. I get he's just a super fan of those movies, but I just came to realization while you're doing this speech, or while you were explaining this, where if we're going to get Damian Wayne, we're definitely going to get Talia al Ghul and Ra's al Ghul.
League of Assassins,
That's going to be great. And are we going to get the version where Slade was also a part of it too? That'd be sick.
But they didn't Slade Wilson this early?
Slade, I don't know. But seeing Timothy Oliphant? No, I don't think that was the actor. But seeing
Joe Manganiello,
the one guy, that guy, in the live action Deathstroke armor at the end of Justice League, I was like, oh my god, he looks so good.
He did.
I love Deathstroke. He's got the best look like of assassins for me. I love him. I have a mask of Deathstroke. It just came with a comic book. Never read the comic, but I saw the mask and I wanted to buy it.
So should we talk?
When does this come out? Or there's no slate for it?
No release dates for the rest of them. Should we talk about? No, we'll save that for after the next few. So the next one up is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. They say the Girl of Steel is getting her own solo movie, which will be based on Tom King's recent DC run, as he's an architect of the project too. While Superman was raised on Earth with kind parents, Supergirl stayed on a piece of Krypton that drifted off. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, will explore her life as she was forced to see many loved ones die tragically. So I'm assuming now that little piece would be Kandor, but
yeah. I am going to anger a lot of Superman fans a little bit here. The only Supergirl that I know is from the Injustice games. And I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing.
I think that was a solid introduction for...
Okay.
Yeah.
Because her whole role in Justice 2 was because since Superman made the symbol of the House of El not bring out hope, she kept fighting for it. And that was part of the game that I really liked, so I liked her as a character.
Yeah.
And I think this is where, maybe not in her solo movie or this Superman solo movie, but when they eventually come together, that's when you do Brainiac, when you have the two. Because I don't know if it's in canon for all of them, but in some canons, Brainiac is the cause of the end of Krypton. I don't know if it's all of them.
There's different versions. Sometimes Brainiac ended Krypton altogether. I think in most versions, Brainiac is the one who, he tends to collect things. So in most versions, no matter what, he's the one who shrunk it.
He's a nerd.
He's the one who shrunk the city of Kandor.
Okay.
Which is where Supergirl and her family are from, is the city of, and that's how they survived. So there's a whole, but like, and that's a plot for a lot of Superman stories, is like he's trying to figure out how to unshrink Kandor, or where to unshrink Kandor. So he just kind of holds it in the Fortress of Solitude and doesn't know what to do with it. And there's this whole society that lives in a bottle.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's why. Okay, I never knew that. I always was like, why does he just have a display? I didn't know that was the actual city of Kandor. Okay.
No, that's like, there's an actual
where
society.
Where do you put that? That's actually really complex. Like, where do I put this?
Yeah.
Put it on the moon?
I'm like, if he unshrinks that city, he's just putting an entire city of Kryptonians out into the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And
he could put it somewhere in Manitoba. There's so much flat land. We got room.
Yeah.
Bunch of Canadian kryptonites or Kryptonians.
Sure, somewhere. Yeah, but you wouldn't want to put it on Earth because you have enough trouble with like just General Zod coming every so often. You know, that's just one guy.
Yeah, but they'll be Canadian, so they're fine.
Sure. Well,
this is not true. It's not true.
Anyway, you wouldn't want to put that bottle on Earth, but I just think it's interesting that
no.
So this sounds like it would be. It sounds like this Superman Legacy movie is focusing more on Superman on Earth. They're not going for the more space-based things like Brainiac or Mongol or anything. Like I said, I think it's going to be it versus the Authority. But I think that Supergirl seems to be set more as like a space opera sort of thing, where she's trying to fight her way to Earth or just survive out in wherever she's going. So that could be really interesting just to separate. So you have the more terrestrial-based Superman story and the more space-based ones, because that's just as important a part of their mythology. Especially Supergirl's. Her whole thing was the reason that she's an interesting character compared to Clark is because Clark was raised here. He never really knew his Kryptonian heritage till way later, whereas Kara was born and raised on Krypton. She was like a teenage, she was like 13 to 15 or so when Krypton blew up, and then she got to Earth way later. The funny thing about that is, I think in a lot of versions of the story, she gets trapped in like a time warp sort of thing or a wormhole. So even though she was 13 when Krypton blew up, when she gets to Earth, Superman's like at least 10 years older than her and has to mentor her. But she's got all this knowledge of their heritage that he doesn't. And she's a lot more bitter because she knows the culture that got destroyed, and she's forced to acclimate to Earth, where Superman was just raised in it. They're a very interesting dynamic that way. So I just find it interesting that 2 of the 4 movies in DC Chapter 1 are about the Superman family, which I am here for. I think that is
I'm excited.
That is what this universe
I was
needs.
never a big Supergirl fan until the animated movie Apocalypse came out with Batman and Superman, which is a great film. And it showcases a lot of Supergirl's powers and how she is almost on par with Superman in that film, at least.
Yes.
And then also the Injustice 2 games, where I just like her character, just her whole idea of, again, I never watched the like the CW show of it.
Yeah.
But I assume she's somewhat around the same character. And yeah, I'm excited to see like what would Krypton as a city look like as they're floating around in space, maybe. Well, this is just speculation at this point. And if when they're floating around, do they come across a yellow sun?
Yeah. Well, that would probably be what kickstarts it off. That sounds like a good inciting incident. They fall under the rays of a yellow sun.
What a great title too. Woman of Tomorrow.
Yep.
That's a great title.
Which is based on Superman's other titles, The Man of Tomorrow. But yeah,
I bet what they're doing, because these aren't technically in order how you written them down here, which is not your fault.
Is this not the order? This is the order, or it was first?
No, I think it's the Authority. I think it is. Let me look at the. There's a picture.
Superman is first. I know for a fact Superman's first.
Maybe it's a TV show first. Yeah, it's TV shows first, and then it's Superman. So you're right.
Okay.
Where's the Authority on here? Oh, that's weird. Maybe this one's wrong. I've seen it. Oh wait, no, I see how they're doing it. So it's Creature Commandos, Waller, Superman Legacy. We didn't talk about. I guess it's because it's not technically part of the DCU, but they're doing a Constantine 2, which is
I heard that got.
I heard is an underrated filmy. Did it? No. Let's see. Constantine 2. Do. Putting in words so you don't fucking hear it. Confirmed. It is not scrapped.
Okay.
This was 3 days ago.
Okay.
This article.
I guess that might go under.
I hear that's an underrated movie.
Yeah, we'll talk about Elseworlds and I want to finish up Supergirl going to Swamp Thing and then talk about the Elseworlds movies quick.
Even though Constantine is nothing like the guy in the comics.
Not even close.
It's just Keanu Reeves.
Not even close. But
he's still in the John Wick like attire.
I
know.
Oh God. Boy. What I like about Superman and Supergirl leading the charge in this DC universe is to separate it from the Snyderverse. You're starting off with the hopeful Superman right off the bat. This is just like DC Comics at its core. Action Comics #1. Their universe started off with Superman, this crusader for truth and justice in the American way. It's like any good DC universe worth its salt should start with Superman. If you wanted to start with someone like Batman, I call bullshit immediately. He's the most popular, but he's not the core of what DC represents. Superman is the heart of DC all the way, especially as Superman done right. So the fact that 2 of the movies in your Chapter 1 slate revolve around the Super family, that to me says you're going in the right direction. Up top.
Mm-hmm.
But, so next up is Swamp Thing. So DC Studios is working on a movie that explores the dark origin story of the Swamp Thing.
That's all you got.
So we talked about, we did talk about, Swamp Thing's interesting because we talked about in one of our first episodes of Close Up, the 20th century superhero movies. They made multiple Swamp Thing movies in the 80s already. So like you'd think this is and a TV show that got scrapped. So you'd think this is one of those weird properties that like nobody would know, but it's actually been adapted multiple times already, which is very interesting.
Yeah, this is the one they announced where I was like, really? This is the only one they announced where I was like, really? The other ones I was either really excited for or like, oh, cool, we're going to get that. But this is the one I was like, huh?
Swamp Thing's awesome, though, because it follows the more... It starts getting into the more magical, mystical side of the DC universe. So you got...
I just hope it's not one of those like movies where it's like the Transformers where you follow these human characters for like the 2/3 of the movie and then you get to the Transformers. I don't want it to be like, oh, you follow these human characters for most of it and then you get some of Swamp Thing stuff where like they're discovering Swamp Thing. Just make it about Swamp Thing, man.
Well, it says it explores the dark origin story of Swamp Thing, so I think...
Good.
Yeah, so it should be... I guess about how he gets those powers and how he becomes kind of the protector of the green is what I think Swamp Thing is generally. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about Swamp Thing. I know more Swamp Thing from appearances.
You know one thing. He lives in a swamp.
Ish. The world.
What do you mean, ish?
He's kind of just the world.
Okay.
Like, he can go anywhere there's nature. He can just be there. He's kind of a part of him.
So not Chicago or New York.
No.
Well, maybe Central Park.
You don't find him in cities much. But I know he operates...
Maybe you see Swamp Thing in Chicago next to the Bean. That'd be just like, why are you here?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm stuck here. I can't get out. I need help.
There's no place for me to go.
I need a manure truck to go by real quick.
But yeah, good dark adaptation of
That's
Alan Moore's
good sketch. I'm going to write that
down. Swamp Thing stuck in the city.
Swamp Thing stuck in the city.
So yeah, if they, I've heard they're taking inspiration from Alan Moore's acclaimed run on the character in the 70s, and you know, that's the most famous version of Swamp Thing, so if you stick to that, you should be good. Now, while
I
we're
think
talking,
we can assume anything Alan Moore writes is the most famous thing of that thing. I think we can safely assume.
yeah.
And then wait a couple decades and he'll say, nah, I didn't like it. Or I don't like the film adaptation of it.
He doesn't. He definitely doesn't. Alan Moore famously hates every adaptation of his work, so he'll probably.
Which, to be fair, most of the adaptation missed the mark.
I
would argue one hits it really well, but also misses the mark, which is V for Vendetta.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good adaptation.
So while we're talking about movies, let's talk about those Elseworlds ones for a little bit because they're kind of the wild cards here. So officially, the Elseworlds ones, we have Joker. I think it's Folie à Deux, and
sure,
Batman 2 by Matt Reeves. I think one other one was the Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman movie. I read that might be still in development somewhere. Justice Constantine 2, maybe still in development. So these ones, I guess, will be under the banner of Elseworlds, which is taking what I said up top, what I liked about the old DC, where they just kind of made good movies, and it didn't matter if they were connected. So it sounds like they're trying to double dip here. You've got the cohesive universe that's doing this thing, and then you've also got these Elseworlds ones that are just doing their own thing too. And that should be okay. And and you know what? People can complain that it's too confusing or whatever. Well, what if we get this Batman and then Robert Pattinson? I don't understand. We're in a post No Way Home world. If you didn't understand that movie, I'm sorry. But I think most people did. We understand different versions of the same character can exist in a multiverse. Or if there's no official multiverse, it doesn't matter. We can understand it. It's not that complicated.
As long as you make Brave and the Bold tonally different.
Yes.
Sorry, if you do make Brave and the Bold tonally different, then it'll be much easier for audiences to differentiate between the two.
Yes, I fully expect them to be very
Don't make
different.
it a comedy, but don't make it a comedy, please. But
no, I think
don't make it like the Brave and the Bold cartoon, which
I love.
Would be interesting.
It's so good. Brave and the Bold cartoon.
Live action.
The Brave and the Bold cartoon is pure love letter to the Silver Age of comics. I loved that show as a kid.
The fist of justice is unisex.
Didn't he wear that?
You wouldn't hit a woman, would you? Funny, I don't have that problem. Bang.
It's a great show.
So good.
It plays more into the goofy version of Batman. I don't want to see the Brave and the Bold be the goofy version of Batman, but I want to see it be a little bit more comic booky, less grounded than the Matt Reeves one. We can have grounded Batman and we can have comic booky Batman. Let's lean into the weirdness.
There's a great episode in Brave and the Bold where they go more a little bit seriously, where Batman confronts Joe Chill. That's a good episode.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that one before.
Other than that, it's more goofy, which is great, just from the clips you see online. Tons of fun.
Yeah, these Elseworlds ones, they could be good or bad, but they won't affect the main continuity. I just like that they're letting people do their versions of these characters. I'd like to see Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga do whatever the hell they're going to do. I hear that one's going to be a musical. Go for it.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's going to be very, very interesting.
Lady Gaga as a singing Harley Quinn? Sure.
Beautiful.
Gimme.
She's a great choice for this type of Joker.
Yeah.
I think she has that horror background with American Horror Story, and then she's just been killing it in live action performance lately with Star is Born and in House of Gucci.
Yes.
So, and then you bring her musical background, not musical, but her music background into film, and I think it's going to be a great film. I'm not huge on the Joker 2019 as some people were. We're like, this is the best movie ever. I think it was good, and then I think the sequel is going to be very, very, very good.
I think it has potential to be even better than the first one, or at least more groundbreaking. So let's get into the TV shows now. So the first one I've got on my list is animated series called Creature Commandos. Screen Rant says Gunn has already written 7 episodes for the series. Creature Commandos will center on Rick Flag Sr., who is set to appear elsewhere in live action, portrayed by his voice actor. Nina Mazurki, Dr. Phosphorus, Eric Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, who's the protagonist, G.I. Robot, and Weasel, played by his brother Sean Gunn.
Mm. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, who is also in the Suicide Squad movie as Weasel. So that's
perfect.
Over.
So the Suicide Squad is going to be a part of this canon universe, or some. Well, I guess they said the reboot of the franchise is going to take some people away but keep others. I think that's what they said.
So I don't know where this would be set in the timeline, because I remember
he cuts his brother.
Sean Gunn?
Yeah, he just cuts his brother. He's like, you're fired.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what makes me wonder, right? Because to me, Rick Flag Sr. in the comic books, there was a comic book line, I think it may have been even the original Suicide Squad book, which wasn't about a team of anti-hero villains, but I think they were run by there was a Silver Age team run by a guy named Rick Flag. And then they rebooted the Suicide Squad in the 80s and made Rick Flag Jr., the son of that guy, who was in charge of that team. And Rick Flag Jr. is the one we've been following in the Suicide Squad movies. But if they're adapting Rick Flag Sr., I don't know if this movie's a prequel or if he's just going to be an old guy in the modern day. You know?
Yeah.
Because if Weasel's around, I don't know if Weasel's a really old character, because like he was in the Suicide Squad, which stars Rick Flag Jr. Is he just an old anti-hero thing? Is this a prequel? I don't know. It could be interesting.
Who knows? I don't know why my mind went for the cast for Rick Flag Sr. because they don't even look similar. But the actor for Rick Flag Jr., I think the perfect senior would be Ron Perlman. I don't know why. I'm also thinking of voice actor at the same time.
You know, I can see that. I can definitely see that. Is live action and voice acting.
Don't know why.
But you know what? Most of these characters.
My friend met Ron Perlman in an elevator. I'm so jealous.
Oh man, where?
It was like a fan expo, but it wasn't in Toronto. It was somewhere else in Canada. It was a couple of years ago.
I think they do one in Winnipeg. Maybe that's it. Or
that might have been it.
Calgary. I think they do one in Calgary too.
Maybe might have been. I don't know. I have to ask him. I was just too mad to. I was too mad to actually ask him where.
All right, so I don't really know any of these other characters in this Creature Commandos, but that's fine.
Yeah, looks interesting. It's like Suicide Squad, but not.
Yeah. And okay, so next up is Waller. Screen Rant says the previously announced Amanda Waller spin-off series is moving forward with Viola Davis still set to star. The show will take place between Peacemaker seasons 1 and 2. This is because Gunn doesn't have time for Peacemaker right now. Doom Patrol executive producer Jeremy Carver and Watchmen scribe Crystal Henry are heading up the series. Okay.
This is going to be very interesting because I think Waller is a great character and I think Viola Davis is phenomenal. So to have a whole show written around her is going to be great. And I think she just won an EGOT recently, right?
I read a headline.
She won a Grammy. Viola Davis EGOT. She just won a Grammy, I think, for...
Really?
Yeah, but she won it because top line actress won a Grammy this Sunday for narrating the audiobook. She narrated an audiobook and that won her a Grammy.
Oh, good for her though.
There's
only like 20 people that have ever won EGOT, so she's in a very exclusive club.
Became the only 18th person in history to achieve it. So
not even 20. Go for you.
That's
Viola.
hard to do. Lin-Manuel Miranda hasn't even done it yet, and the one he needs to get is an Oscar, which is probably the easiest one he could get, but he keeps getting beaten out by the song category by like La La Land and Lady Gaga and all these other people.
He'll get it.
He keeps writing music for these Disney movies, and he keeps getting beaten out.
Oh, is that why he keeps doing it? He's looking for that Oscar?
I mean, I would.
But
or he just keeps directing movies. He's done great directing so far. I mean, he's only done Tick, Tick, Boom, but he produced In the Heights, which was, in my opinion, very good.
I loved In the Heights. And Tick, Tick, Boom. They were really great.
He's so good.
But yeah, this Waller series, yeah.
Maybe the Hamilton movie. Well, that doesn't count.
I still haven't seen that one. I'll get to it.
Joe.
I know.
You haven't seen the most popular thing to come out in 2015?
Does that shock anybody?
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
So I didn't watch Die Hard till like this year. So anyway,
what'd you think?
Loved it.
There you go.
That one was worth the hype. But yeah, so Waller, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not like, super excited for it, but I think it'll be good. It'll be Viola Davis, like we said, great star. I like the Waller character. She plays the Waller character well. I'm sad it's replacing Peacemaker Season 2 for now, because I love that show so much. But yeah, it'll be okay, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm not interested.
Yeah, I've heard...
That makes sense. That's a double negative.
Yeah. So you are.
My English teacher would not be happy.
You are interested then.
I am interested.
I've heard Doom Patrol's a really good show, so I'm sure this Jeremy Carver producer will do a good job. And when it says Watchmen Scribe, I didn't do enough research to know. I don't know if Christelle Henry wrote...
That is.
I'm going to assume that's the Watchmen show from HBO a couple years ago.
I'm going to assume so as well, yeah.
Which was okay. It's one of those ones where I liked when I was watching it and less the more I thought about it, but...
I think the Watchmen show is really good, and then the finale happens, and you're like,
Yeah, the finale...
I don't know what it is about the finale.
It doesn't tie it all together nicely, but anyway.
But the main actress in it was really good. Oh, what's her name? Regina King? Is that who it is? She's so good.
I don't remember her name offhand.
She won an Oscar recently. Regina King. It was like Best Supporting Actress. Yeah, that's who she is. She's stunning. What'd she win it for? Not the Boondocks, Google. I think it was The Harder They Fall. Yeah, she won like a couple... She won a couple of years ago, so it was fairly recent. But yeah, she's great. She's also in if anyone's seen it, I believe not Ray. Well, she's in Ray, but I was thinking of Jerry Maguire. She's great in that. If anyone's seen Jerry Maguire, it's a great movie.
I have not seen that one, actually. I'll just admit to all the things I haven't seen but should have.
That's okay. It's not one that I would be like, you have to go see this, but it's just a nice sit down, if you like sports and rom-com at the same time. It's got Tom Cruise, Cuba Gooding Jr. before he sucked as a person, and Renee Zellweger. It's actually got quite the cast, if I'm being honest.
I know a couple of the famous quotes from it, one of which is probably a spoiler, so I won't even say them, but...
yeah.
Yeah,
so, I know what you're thinking of.
You know the one. So the next one here is Lanterns, which I am very hyped for. So it says, while it's unclear if this is meant to be Greg Berlanti's Green Lantern TV show, Lanterns will center on Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. According to DC Studios, it's a detective mystery with the Green Lantern serving as super cops on Precinct Earth. Lanterns will lead into an overall story about an ancient horror, while weaving between movies and DC TV shows. Peter Safran says this will be very much in the vein of True Detective, and that is terrestrial-based.
What did I say would be great a few weeks ago when they bring back Green Lanterns? Bring back Jon Stewart. What did I say? And they're doing it. When I watched James Gunn announce this in the break room of my work, I almost screamed, "Fuck yeah!" Because there's some great Green Lantern storylines, and Jon Stewart's a great Green Lantern, and also Hal Jordan's great. I'm so hyped for this show. I could not be more hyped.
This is the third time I've said this on this list, but this is the Green Lantern show I'd make if I got to make a Green Lantern show. I always wanted to see the buddy cop, Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart dynamic, doing the Lethal Weapon style in space. Or I guess it'll be more terrestrial based, they say this time. But like, the buddy cop Green Lantern movie or TV show, like that is the story I would have always written for myself if I were to write a Green Lantern. So like, they've written the Superman movie I want, the Batman movie I want, the Lanterns project I want. Like, I'm getting a lot of stuff that me as a DC fan for my whole life is like, yeah, this is what I would do. So that tells me it's in good hands, you know? Like, it's very rare, or even like the Robert Pattinson Batman, like Matt Reeves one that's like, yeah, this is the Batman I would do. Like, that one I loved at the time too. Like, this is the Batman I've always wanted to see. So like, they're making good steps continuing these things forward. And like, from what I hear, I've been more excited about this stuff than I have in years. Only thing that worries me, just slightly, is that they talk about how it's terrestrial based. And me, as a Green Lantern fan, I've always preferred the more space-based Lantern adventures. Because I've always thought, there's so many heroes on Earth, and the Green Lanterns are space cops. So why do they have so many adventures on Earth? Like, get out in space, meet alien cultures, do your space copping way out in the galaxy. Those are always my favorite Green Lantern stories, is the space ones. So the fact that this one's going to be set more on Earth is like, I hope it's good, but I'm also feel like it's a near miss of potential.
I would love to see them in space, and then you get the different colored lanterns as well. Like, oh my god, like the one the greedy lantern, like the orange ring.
Marfleece. Yeah,
he's great. And then the red lanterns would be great.
The greedy orange one is the only one of his kind. It's perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Oh my god, this show has so much potential. Please don't fuck it up. Please. This is the show I've wanted to see for Green Lantern.
I know.
Please don't mess it up. If there's one thing I want to succeed in this new DC slate, it's this show.
Yes. All right. So next up
and the fact it's like the second to last thing we're getting, I have to wait so long for this fucking show is kind of a piss off. But take your time. Make it good.
Yeah. I don't think this chapter
a funny casting in my head was Nathan Fillion for Hal Jordan. That's a regular one. But then the guy from the State Farm commercials is Jon Stewart. I don't know why that popped in my head.
That's interesting.
He'd do good. I think he'd do okay.
I think Nathan Fillion would be great as Hal Jordan if they made Hal Jordan older. If you want a young Hal Jordan that's going to carry this franchise,
a cameo.
Maybe. Because I know he's voiced Hal Jordan, but if you want a young Hal Jordan that's going to continue on for a really long time, like what I've always wanted to see in this particular dynamic, Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, I wanted to see Hal Jordan be more of a veteran Lantern at this point. He's been doing the job. Yeah. He's the old cop who's been doing this for a long time, and Jon Stewart's, I don't want to see Jon Stewart as a rookie, but like the junior partner in the partnership. Maybe more idealistic, less cynical, still learning the ropes. But Hal Jordan is like, but also at the same time, the more level-headed one, because Hal Jordan is the kind of guy who is very impulsive and just rushes into things, whereas Jon Stewart's a little more reserved and methodical and thinks things out better. He's an architect. He's a planner. He's a builder. Hal Jordan is like, I'm just going to go in there and make it up as I go along. And then someone like Guy Gardner is like boxing glove fist through everything.
I was about to say, thank God they're not doing Guy Gardner.
Oh, I bet he'll be.
Well, he might show up.
I bet he'll be. Yeah. Because it's like James Gunn and Peter Safran were saying, this is already a universe where heroes have been around for a while. We're already on the Damian Wayne Robin, so why shouldn't we have a Guy Gardner in the universe just around already?
True.
Like, I'd like to see this already be fully formed.
I wonder if they'll do Sinestro. That's his name, right? Sinestro?
Oh, yeah, they got to do Sinestro. I don't know if Sinestro...
I'm wondering if they're going to do it in the show or if he's going to be like an end credit scene.
He'll probably be a season...
Well, that'd be too much like the movie. But I think that'd be a good season 2 villain.
I'm gonna make you a pitch right now for this Lantern show. What I want to see Sinestro.
Okay.
I want to see Sinestro be a Hannibal Lecter type figure. Somebody locked in the cells in the basement of Oa, who's just like, oh, we fought this guy a long time ago, and he's just waiting.
Oh my god.
That's what I want to see Sinestro be in this show.
Oh my god. This show has so much potential.
I just thought of this right now.
Oh my god.
That's my pitch for Sinestro here.
Okay. Here's the best way to do in my opinion. Do that, but then also do in the first Lantern season, you're chasing some of like the other Lantern corps, like the
Red Lanterns,
some of the Fear People, Red Lanterns,
Yellows,
maybe the greedy guy.
Yeah.
But then in season 2, you do all of them. You just do a shit show of all of them. Oh my god, this show has so much potential. I cannot wait.
Like I said, get to space. I don't know what the terrestrial one will be.
Go to space. Go to space
all
for
the
love of God.
potentials in space. All right, so next we have Paradise Lost. Screen Rant. This is a Wonder Woman prequel series in the style of Game of Thrones, focusing on the origin of Themyscira before Diana Prince's time. Paradise Lost will explore how the political game that is played on Themyscira and what a society of women do in order to gain power. So I'm gonna guess this is set. Just based on how this sounds, this nearly seems to me like it's that story that Hippolyta talks about in Wonder Woman, how they used to live in the world of man and were enslaved there, and then they broke out of their captivity, went off to Themyscira, and formed their own society. This is probably what this show's going to be about.
Which would be interesting. I don't know how long this show could be. Maybe it's a one-off season.
It sounds like a mini-series to me, not a whole show.
There's strong potential for this, though.
Yeah.
Only because James Gunn said in the style of Game of Thrones, which, not saying you have to do like dragons and giant battles, but when I hear this style of Game of Thrones, to me that sounds like smart dialogue and smart characters. That's what it sounds like to me. Yes. So that's part I'm interested in seeing this.
You know what I'm also intrigued by is
you could do the Greek gods in this too. Oh my
yes,
god.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, if you're going back to the origins of Wonder Woman, the Amazons worship, I think it's like Athena and Aphrodite, like the goddesses of wisdom and love. And they're
mostly Athena, yeah.
Yeah, like,
but maybe also Aphrodite as well.
They derive a lot of their power from the Greek gods, and that's where. So that's a huge part of their mythology. So I would not be surprised if maybe like, I don't know, they're living in a world of man, and then they call on Athena to help them break out of the world of man, something like that. Maybe, I don't know, but I can. And
they play that TikTok song that's been going around.
Yeah, but I can see
Athena.
It. I know. I saw you do it, and it's been stuck in my head ever since. That's the first time I heard that. And, okay,
it's catchy.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good song. But yeah, so I think it could be like Game of Thrones. The fantasy element in that seems to be more just like dragons than anything else. Maybe like.
Well, when you're coming off a show called House of the Dragon.
Yeah, I just didn't see in House of the Dragon. That's my only exposure, but that was the only real fantasy element.
Fantasy element in Game of Thrones. There's I don't want to spoil much, but there's
like I know White Walkers
stuff in Game of Thrones.
Like White Walkers and prophecy. I guess prophecy is a little mystical, but
I guess the characters themselves and the yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So I think if you're going Game of Thrones like with kind of lighter fantasy elements, I'm imagining it's going to be like mostly pretty grounded, and then you're going to get like Greek gods doing stuff, and then that'll be like the weird fantasy thing that comes in every so often. And last but not least, the Green Lantern show's the one that made you go fuck yeah when you first saw it. I unintentionally let one out when I saw Booster Gold. So
yeah. Do you want to know what my reaction to this was? My reaction to this was like, oh, cool. And then I realized how much of a mega fan you were. I was like, oh, Joe's going to be too excited for this.
Oh, I am.
Not like
I am. I like how
a part of me wanted to be like, James Gunn is doing the show just for Joe.
See,
just for you personally.
I must repeat for like the 5th time today that if I was going to make a DC universe, this is one I would put in there 100%. It's like James Gunn is on my wavelength here, man. So he described this show as imposter syndrome as a superhero, which sounds about right to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's funny.
And
it's going to be interesting. And this is a TV show. Do we know if this is animated or live action?
I hope it's live action.
Yeah.
Ryan doesn't know a lot about Booster Gold, but when this show comes out, that'll probably be when I do my Joe Explains Booster Gold episode.
I don't know about anything about Booster Gold except that he gets bodied immediately by Doomsday. That's the only thing I know about Booster Gold.
That's a thing to know. All right, so that's James Gunn and Peter Safran's Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, DCU Slate. So, summary of thoughts here?
For the new movies that are coming out. Well, they're still doing, Shazam, The Flash. Oh, you already said that. Shazam and then Aquaman. So those movies, I don't know if I'm going to see most of them. I might go see The Flash because I know it's the reset.
I'll see them.
But
I still hope they're good movies.
I think my top 3 right now to see, not in any particular order, is Lantern, Supergirl, and probably Superman. Which is odd to say because I didn't think I wanted to see a new Superman origin, but the way he's described it and how other people described it sounds good.
My 3 favorite DC properties are Superman, Green Lantern, and Booster Gold. So those are my top 3 easy. And I'm like,
yeah.
What do you mean? So like, and once again, I'm actually a fan of the Snyderverse, but once again, my top 3 weren't really well represented there. I did like his version of Superman, but he's not the classic Superman that I liked for most of it. So the fact that we're starting out the gate with Superman and also doing Lanterns and Booster Gold, I'm like, yes, this is the DCU for me, just based on the slate.
Imagine the Lanterns show gets so good that they get to a season 3, like they do those 2 afterwards, and then season 3 they do the Blackest Night. Imagine. They get a well-established universe with their own Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Flash, and then they do the Blackest Night. Holy fuck!
What if they did? The Parallax storyline too, when Hal Jordan goes crazy and just wipes out the Lantern Corps,
takes all the rings? Oh god, that'd be amazing.
And that's when they introduce.
I feel like that's more Elseworld though.
And that's when they introduce. Cool. No, that was Kyle Rayner's introduction. Because after
he's good, right?
Yeah. He was the White Lantern. Okay. He was the Lantern so powerful, He was all the colors. But that was Kyle Rayner's introduction when they wiped out the Green Lantern Corps, and it was like, who's left? Okay, well, we'll get this guy.
It's him in the corner.
Just
me.
This random artist. So I hope to see some Kyle Rayner representation. You know what? Give me Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz, too. They're new, but I like them.
No idea what you're saying.
They're the new
comic book.
They're the new as Green Lanterns from the last. Oh, I haven't been around that long. Maybe 7 years. They've been around. Not even.
Do a Ryan Reynolds cameo. Fuck it. Have him voice one character.
Sure.
Just as a joke.
Have him be
and the line can even be like. Even the line can be like something stupid where it's like, I haven't seen you in a while. It's like, yeah, I've just been hanging out with my wife, which would be like, because that's where he met Blake Lively.
That's funny.
I feel like that'd be funny.
Put him in creature makeup and have him be a lantern in the background just for some redemption.
Ooh, yeah.
Give him an actual
so funny.
suit,
The best thing to come out of Green Lantern is that relationship. Is Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. One of the most pure relationships in Hollywood. And also, if you ever follow any of the social media, they take jabs at each other all the time. They're like perfect for each other.
The other best thing to come out of Green Lantern is all the jokes he makes about it in Deadpool.
That's true.
My favorite is
most of the good jokes.
My favorite is the
Green Lantern
post-credit scene of number 2 when he meets Ryan Reynolds getting the script for Green Lantern. I'm not going to spoil what happens for you people, but you haven't seen it. But yeah, it's funny.
He's like, you're finally getting there, kid.
Yeah, this is the big time. Yeah. All right, so summary.
He loves poking fun at himself.
Yeah, which I respect.
I can't wait for Deadpool 3.
That too.
Because we know who's in it. Someone did a funny pitch. Someone did a funny pitch for Deadpool 3 where it's Deadpool, but he's following around Hugh Jackman, like the actual actor Hugh Jackman, to get him to don the Wolverine mantle again throughout the whole film. So he's just chasing them. So it's not like actually Wolverine, it's just him chasing Hugh Jackman.
To get him to be Wolverine again. That's funny.
That'd be so meta, but I don't know how you could do that for 2 hours.
I love the video they did about it where they acted like it was going to be spoilers and then they just put wham over top of it where they're spoiling the whole movie. And
well, someone tried to someone did lip reading and it's complete nonsense what they're saying. You could not find the actual plot. It's just absolute complete nonsense.
I also loved it's one of the craziest reveals I've ever seen in like entertainment was just Ryan Reynolds puttering about his apartment the whole time. He's like, well, we got one idea. Mm-hmm. Hugh, you want to come back? Sure.
Yeah.
Just in the background. What a reveal.
I love that gag.
So good.
I love that gag where he's like, I have nothing. I have no ideas.
Yeah.
You can just see in his face, there's an actor who's been in Hollywood for like over 10 years. And he's like, I got nothing.
Well, we do have one thing.
Hugh.
Want to be Wolverine
Want to
again?
come drink some aviation gin? It's his own gin, if you didn't know.
Yep. Not
Ryan
sponsoring us, but you can, please. We would take it.
Can. I've heard it's good.
Yeah.
From 2 people who've actually drank it. I don't know if it's in Canada, if I'm being honest.
All right, so the editing on this one will kill me again, but overall, it was... overall, we're excited, I think. Are you excited? I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm excited. You know, I wasn't that excited, and then he told us what's coming out, and I was like, yeah.
This is
pretty excited.
This is just
I also love that he made a point that said that like Peacemaker 2 will happen. He just has no time because he's now the CEO of the universe. So he's like, I know everyone loves this. I have no time. So just be patient with me. John Cena, just wait. Don't hurt yourself. Don't get hurt. Don't go to another WrestleMania, even though the wrestling fans would probably want you there. Just bear with me. But yeah, I'm very excited. All right. You can find me at Ryan Walker Official on Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube.
And you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at ThoughtPlane Media. Also, check out the Close Up with Ryan and Joe Facebook page for latest updates on this show. If you listen to us in audio, check out our YouTube channel. And if you're on YouTube, find us anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. Also, be sure to leave us comments and reviews, as that's a big help. And how about clicking that like button or sharing if you enjoyed this? We hope to see you on the next Close Up with Ryan and Joe. Till next time.
See ya.